sometimes I wonder, like, do people ever stop and think, like, why is my life like this? Like, why do I feel like I'm going through this depression or going through this sadness 24/7? Why is my life like this? Why am I going through the tribulations I'm going through? Why am I, why? Like, do people sit and really ask themselves why? Like, honestly, bro, I feel like a lot of the reasoning to why like we go through the things we go through is because we we blame ourselves for things that we can't control. Like, we blame ourselves for things that's like completely out of our control. Like, your living circumstance, you might only make a certain amount of money, so you can't afford a certain type of lifestyle. So now you beating yourself up because you're not good enough. But it's just like, that's why you feel like that. When you're constantly on social media, you're constantly looking at like other people's lives and things like that. Like, that will really put you in a dark space. I ain't gonna lie. Like, it really will. Personally, I never really felt like that. I never felt like somebody else's life was better than mine. But I do understand how you can look at somebody else's life and see how they have more than you. And it makes you reflect a little bit. But at the same time, like, you can't be mad at what you don't got. Like, a lot of people feel like they should have things that was not promised to them. Like, a lot of people really, really get stuck in a delusion that their life is supposed to be a certain type of way. But it's like, there's no perfect way to live life. There's no perfect way to do things. There's no perfect way to go about things. It's just everything is based off of reactions. And what I mean by that is, depending on your reaction, that'll determine how you experience life. Like, and I played around with it at my job because I have a coworker that I'm not really cool with. And it's like, for a long time, I used to have really bad energy towards him. Like just acting mean, just like not really talking to him, not really trying to hear him out, just because I didn't really mess with him like that. But it's like once I started reading a lot, and once I started listening to like positive speakers and things like that, just about being more positive and being more like aware and changing up my perspective, it's just like, once you shift your perspective, it starts to change everything. Like, it literally does, bro. Because it's like, then once you start thinking about other people instead of thinking about yourself, you start to realize, like, okay, like, this person don't even want to be here as much as me. They might have a worse life than what I'm going through. I don't know what they go through behind closed doors. They're here having this persona every day. Why don't I try to be nice to them? Maybe things would change if I just change how I act towards them. And it's like, once I took time to self reflect and took time to like just try to be better even a little bit, things started to change. I started to become more cool. And even if I don't really care about what he's talking about, I act like I care. Show that you're there physically. You could be in places physically and not be there mentally. You got to be there physically and mentally so that you could like really finish like what you're trying to finish, like accomplish everything you're trying to accomplish. Because it's like once you stop caring about the things you don't have, and like the way of life that you can't control, and you start focusing on the things that you can control and the things that you can change and you can grasp, it's like, you realize how much control you do got over your life. Like, a lot of people feel like they out of control with their life. They feel like God is not real. They feel like all these things are just happening to them and just them only. But it's like, you can't think like that, bro. Because it's billions of people in the world. And it's like, everybody goes through things. Like, everybody has bad days. Everybody has good days. Some people have it worse than others. But if you could maintain a perspective to where you're just grateful that you woke up, like, literally, your life will slowly change, like, slowly, even down to like your money, your like the amount of money you have. Like, you'll slowly start to grow in that because you'll start to appreciate the money that you do get, and you'll start saving, and you'll start spending your money more wisely and investing in the things that's gonna make you more money, or things that's worth the money that you giving out. You know, and it's like, people don't teach you that. Like they try to teach you like, oh, you gotta live a certain type of way. You gotta do this to get that. You gotta do that to get this and this, that, and third. But really, bro, anything you want, you can achieve it. You know, even if it don't happen overnight, even if it don't happen like right then and there. If you just take the little steps to work towards it, like it, all of that comes. All of that comes. And a lot of people like blame God and they blame everything around them, even themselves. But it's just like all you gotta do is just wake up. All you gotta do is just stop being a bot for me and focus on what you gotta focus on. Like it's people that just let everything spiral out of control because they focus on things that don't even matter when it's stuff that they could change that they're not even changing. Like how you want a different life and you carrying the same habits from a past life. You know, if you constantly doing things that's not good for you, how you expect to become better? How you expect to lose weight if you always eating fast food? How you expect to stop addictions if you keep constantly going back to whatever you're going back to? It's a perspective thing. And once you change your perspective, bro, like your life changes, bro. Like I say that every single video, because like how you look at life will really determine if you have a good life or a bad life. Feel me? And who doesn't want to say they live a good life? You know, even you know me, I could be going through the worst things in life, but I'm simply grateful for the fact that I woke up. I'm simply grateful for the fact that I have another day. That you know that I get to experience life again. You know, granted, I might not have everything I want in life. You know, I might not be where I want to be in life, but I'm only 20. I'm young. You know, my life is just getting started for real. So it's like people aren't told that. People are told that, oh, you're supposed to live a certain way by 20. Oh, you're supposed to have this and have that. But that's not true. You're not supposed to have anything. You get what you work for. And some people are a little bit more fortunate because they might have parents and stuff that come from a wealthy background, or they might have, you know, different benefits that make them, you know, just a slight bit more ahead of where you are. But it's like they're the same as you. You know, even with all the money that they have, even with all the support and love that they have, they still go through the things that they go through behind closed doors. And I feel like people shouldn't look at social media and compare it with their life, because people only post good things in their life. Nobody's gonna post when they're missing their bills. Nobody's gonna post when they spent their last money on them sneakers. Nobody's gonna post when their relationship problems are coming in. Nobody's gonna post the bad things about their life. So why would you want to compare yourself to that? And you know, I'm not gonna say I don't compare myself at all, because honestly, I be comparing myself a lot to like people that's older than me. You know, people that's like already achieved the things that they wanted to achieve. And you know, I'm not comparing myself like belittling myself. I'm comparing myself like, okay, this is the type of success I want to have when I'm this age, you know, or I want to be farther than this, or how can I get to this? You know, how can I work towards this? You know, these are things you got to tell yourself. How can you work towards things instead of feeling like you should have it already? Because like some things you genuinely not ready for. Like some things you're not gonna be prepared for. Some things God won't bring into your life because you can't handle it. You know, you might not be able to handle all the money that you're asking for. You might not be able to handle the car that you want. You might not be able to handle the relationship that you beg of, because you don't do enough self-reflecting and you don't change yourself enough to be ready for what's coming your way. You know, some things are actually coming your way, and it's like the things that you do will hinder how long it takes for that stuff to come. Just simply off the fact that like your principles and your actions are like not where they're supposed to be. And that's something I had to teach myself. Like I used to do a lot of things that don't attract what I want. And the law of attraction is real. You know, when you do certain things, you get certain things. And it's like you have to be hyper intentional about everything that you do. Because bro, like we're never gonna be able to be here on this day. It's the 19th right now of May, and it's about like probably 10 o'clock. You know, we're never gonna be able to be at this second of the day ever again, 2025 ever again. So it's like you can't wake up and just waste your day away. Like you can't wake up and just just feel like you're entitled to have another day. Feel like you're entitled to stuff. Like that's people's biggest problem is entitlement, bro. Like once you start feeling entitled, once you start feeling like you're supposed to have something or something is supposed to go your way, that all that leads to is disappointment. Because even if it does go your way, sooner or later it's not gonna go your way. Because that's just how the world works. For me, that's just how everything works. Nothing is gonna go your way 100% of the time. But if you start to be grateful for what you do got, and you start to be less entitled, and you start to look at things differently, like that would make your life so much better. Like even down to like just going outside and going for a walk, just appreciating the fact that like we have nature. For me, I got really bad allergies, but I still go outside. I still try to like really tap in with nature because it's like it's really a beautiful world that we live in. Like literally, bro. Like and I feel like we get really caught up in life. We get really caught up in our problems. Just being human and just experiencing so much. Like we get so caught up in our day to day that like we forget that you have to enjoy life too. Like you have to appreciate life. You have to. And it's like when you start thinking more like that, and you start trying to be more positive, and you treat people well, it comes back to you. Whether if you have a boss that you really don't like and they're really rude all the time, they treat you bad all the time, just change up how you are. Give out good energy. And sometimes people like you give people good energy and they still give you bad energy, but at the same time, that don't mean that you gotta reciprocate it. It's just they're gonna get what's coming to them because that's the law of attraction, you know. But that don't gotta necessarily change how you are as a person. That don't necessarily your circumstances don't gotta change who you are as a person. It's a lot of good-hearted people that go through really bad things, but you would never know just because they're such a good person. Just because like they'll give you their last, and you won't even know it's their last, but they missing out on things in their life because they're helping you out. And it's like that's how you gotta be, because when you have that type of mindset, nothing but good things come your way. No matter what, like you will always find yourself with new blessings. You will always find yourself with the things that you want in life. And honestly, all you gotta do is just work for it. All you gotta do is just work hard. It just takes dedication and it takes locking in. Like, I used to tell myself like, oh, my job didn't pay me a lot, so it wasn't no way for me to save. Like now my savings is kind of crazy. But it's like, it's just little things like not going outside every day and spending money, not spending money on things that's not helpful to me. Like we spend a lot of money on a lot of things that's not good for us, and it's like little things like that. Like you just gotta be grateful for, like, even being able to accept a paycheck. You should be grateful for that. Just a simple fact that you have a job, you should be grateful for that. Every paycheck I get, I say thank you God for this paycheck, and I thank my boss. I don't like go to him and say thank you, but like in my prayer, like I say thank you to him. Just for giving me a job. Like, I might not have the greatest job in the world, but like the people that work at my job like are very helpful, and little things like that help you appreciate things more. Like even down to like I was playing basketball the other day, I sprained my ankle. Now I can't really do nothing. I can't really walk. I can't really function the way I used to function. And it's like I'm starting to be more appreciative and be more aware for just like just being able to walk. Like a lot of people take a lot of things that they have for granted. And that's how you lose everything. Like when you start taking things for granted and you start treating the people that care about you wrong, and you start moving wrong toward the things that belong to you, it's like it all slips away. It all slips away slowly but surely. And why would you want that? Why do you want to lose stuff? Like the whole point in life is not to lose things. It's not to go backwards. The whole point of life is to gain things, move forward. Strive to the next chapter. Every year is a new chapter. That's why you have a birthday every year. That's why in school you go to the next grade every year. That's why you move up, you elevate, because you only supposed to go higher. And you just gotta figure out what it is that you desire in life. And once you figure that out, put your all into it. Don't give half energy, or half-ass, don't play when it comes to the things that's in your life, the things that you put your time into. Because like I said earlier, we're never gonna be in this moment, this present moment again. I could be laying in my bed right now watching Netflix, but instead I'm making a video for y'all, just because maybe somebody need to hear this. But it's like you got to be super intentional about the things that you do, because like you're never gonna get to do it again. I'm never gonna be 20 again after this year. Like I'm never gonna think the thoughts that I think again. I'm never gonna be able to do the things that I do. One day I'm gonna be old. One day I'm not gonna be able to just walk around or just sit in front of a camera and make a video. I might have a job sooner or later that's gonna be taking up all my time. So it's like you gotta take advantage of what you got. You really have to. And your circumstances not always gonna be the best. It's not always gonna be the worst, but it's just about what you feel about it. If you constantly feel like your life is terrible, if you constantly feel like it's never gonna get better, if you tell yourself, "Oh, I'm never gonna feel good," you tell yourself, "Oh, I don't believe in God," things of that nature. Like one thing people need to stop doing is saying God is not real just because their life is bad. Like if you're successful and you know you have everything you want and you genuinely don't believe in God, that's fine. And like I don't really understand why God gives you the option to not believe in Him, but it is what it is. If you don't believe in God, live your life how you want to live your life. Whatever makes you happy, live by that. But at the same time, just because your life is bad doesn't mean God is not real. It doesn't mean that nobody's there for you. It doesn't mean that you're all alone in the things that you're going through. Because truth be told, there's people around the world that go through stuff. Like people around the world that have like way less than you. Like there's people that's living in Africa, India that don't even have a home. They sleeping on the street every day. Kids go without eating. So it's like you're not the only person going through the things that you're going through. Like sorry to tell you, but especially as a man, like you kind of have to put that aside. Like put those feelings aside as a man. And you just gotta tap in with who you are. Because the more time you spend with yourself, the more time you spend educating yourself on things, the more you'll start to learn, and the more you'll start to change as a person. Like the more I read this book I'm reading, it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The more I read that, the more I'm like understanding the mind. The more I want to incorporate what I'm learning into my life, and the more I do that, the better my life gets. The more respectful I am towards people, the more things come my way. You'd be surprised, like being nice to people, what that could bring to you. You'd be surprised, and I feel like we're put here to work together, literally. Like I don't really understand why people would be having so much hatred towards each other. Like we're literally put here to work together and make things happen. We're the closest thing to God. We're animals, but we're not like the average animal. We have self-conscious, self-awareness. We could think for ourselves. We can make rational decisions. So that separates us from being an animal, like a regular animal outside in the forest or something. But like that's another thing, bro. Like people feel like they're aware, and then they let their self-awareness stop them from learning new things. That's another thing that people got to stop doing, because just because you feel like you know something, that doesn't mean that you can't learn new things. Nobody knows everything in the world. Nobody understands why the sun goes down and why the moon comes up at night. Nobody understands why clouds are there. They have reasons. Clouds are supposed to be supposedly water in the sky for me, but nobody really knows why everything happens the way it does. And it's like if you can't learn something, then you would never be able to get to like your best self. Like you would never be able to get to where you're supposed to be, because like you simply feel like you know everything, or you feel like things are how you perceive it. You got to be open to learning things. You got to be open to taking advice. You got to be open to just hearing certain people out, because somebody might be able to give you something that's helpful in your life, beneficial in your life. And a lot of people are just like so fixated on the way they see life or the way their parents taught them to see life, and that's just how they see it, and that's how they want to raise their kids. But that's not right. That's really not right. Like you should be able to see something and be like, damn, maybe I'm living life wrong, or maybe the way I look at this is wrong, or maybe the way I look at that is wrong. You know, and be able to self-reflect and be able to say, okay, what can I learn from this? Like everything that I go through, I try to learn something from it every single time. Like if I'm going through something bad, like the fact that I sprained my ankle, it's really hurtful. I was in pain, but it's just like now I'm more grateful that I have two legs, like little stuff like that, bro. Like yeah, it would change the way you think when you try to educate yourself more and more day by day. Like I feel like everybody should educate themselves every day to an extent. Like you should like the goal is to try to learn something and build every single day. And if you're just wasting your day smoking or drinking or partying or doing things that's like not even helpful for you, it's like, bro, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life? Now, if you're doing those things and you're getting the stuff that you need to get done, cool. For me, I don't knock anybody's habits. I don't knock anybody's hobbies. None of that. For me, do what you please. Do what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, life is what you make it. But you shouldn't follow certain habits and then expect something that's totally different. Like somebody that's waking up and going to the gym every morning, they're seeing progress in their body. Somebody that's waking up and drinking every morning, waking up smoking every morning, waking up depressed, they're not seeing progress in themselves because they're not putting the work into themselves. Instead, they're trying to suppress how they feel. They're trying to suppress what they're going through. And it's like, you choose how you want to grow. You either grow into something good or you grow into something bad. And most people feel like they're entitled, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You're not entitled to nothing. You're not entitled to feel good. You're not entitled to anything. Anything you want, you have to make it happen. Because nobody's going to make it happen for you. Nobody's going to make it happen for you. Nobody's going to wake up and go to work for you. Nobody's gonna help you get through your emotional problems, but like for you. Nobody's doing that for you. Like those are things you have to work on for yourself. Like if you want to be a better person, that's steps that you got to take within yourself. And it's hard to break habits. It's really hard to break certain habits, but it's like if you really want it, it'll happen. The same way you want to do things that's not good for you and it happens, it's the same way you could take steps like that, like to becoming better, and it'll happen. It's just a matter of where you put your energy. It's a matter of what you put your time into, and that's why I say you gotta be intentional. For me, you have to. You have to be intentional, even down to when you eat. Like I'm not eating food no more if it's like not what I like. I'm not settling for things that I don't like. I'm only doing things that I do like. If the food is not cooked, I'm sending it back. Or if they give me a problem, I'm gonna get up and leave. Because it's like that's the food that you're putting into your body. Like if you're just settling for anything, then you won't have the best life. You can't settle. You can't settle for the hardships. You can't settle for the downside of life. And just because you're going through things don't mean that better days don't come. I done been through the craziest stuff and I done had the best days of my life. But it's just like sometimes you gotta go through things to be able to handle the good times. Sometimes you gotta go through hardships so that when God blesses you and He brings things into your life, you can handle it. A lot of people get things and they fumble it. And they don't know what to do with it simply because they wasn't ready for it. A lot of people get a lot of money, millions of dollars, and go broke. A lot of people get a really good relationship partner and they break their heart just because they're not the person they were supposed to be. Just because they didn't do the things they were supposed to do. They didn't move how they were supposed to move. And it's like, that's why I feel like some people need to go through things. Some people need hardships. Some people need to experience things so that they could teach other people how to maneuver, or they could incorporate it into their life. Like every hardship that I have, I try to learn from it. I try to incorporate it into my life. Or if somebody need advice, I try to help them with advice. speak from my experiences, just so that they don't gotta go through the same things as me. Because a lot of people, you could save them. You know, you could tell them about things that you've been through, and it'll stop a lot from happening. And then some people, they gotta go through things. You know, it's just life. Everybody's different. Everybody's mindset is different, and everybody thinks in a different way. And that's another thing that people have to realize. You know, nobody's gonna think like you. You know, nobody's gonna move how you move. Nobody's gonna make the decisions that you make, unless like it's somebody that's like you. You know, it's a lot of people that might think like you, but it's more people that don't think like you than do think like you. It's a lot of people that might not have the same thoughts as you, which is fine, but it's like you got to take that into consideration too, because if you constantly feeling like people are the same as you and people should reciprocate what you gave them, that's another thing that will disappoint you, because then that leads to people doing things and not receiving support, or that leads to people treating people right and getting mistreated. Like, you also have to notice things like that too, and know when to fall back from people, or know when to understand people. Like, you got to know how to understand people to a certain extent, so that it could be a two-way street. You know, you can't expect things from people and not understand them as well. You know, if you want to be understood, you have to understand. You know, I feel like that's a really important rule that people should follow. Like, you have to understand people before you're understood. You know, if you want something out of somebody, you gotta try to understand what they want. And then once it's a mutual agreement, it makes it so much easier than trying to do things when you're not on the same page as somebody. You know, so it's like you just gotta live life. You just gotta live life how you want to live it. You know, if you want to live a good life, then you have to make conscious decisions. You have to make good decisions that bring you to the life that you want to live. And if you want to live a bad life, it's easy to do that. It's easy to do the bad stuff. It's hard to do the good stuff. And when you keep that mindset, for me, it'd be good. Whenever you're going through something bad, just remember, like, good things don't come easy. And just because you fail at something don't mean you gotta give up. Don't mean you gotta fall back on what you're doing. Don't mean you gotta cancel out your dreams or your aspirations or things like that. You know, you just get back up, brush yourself off, and keep going. You know, you don't second guess yourself. You always have confidence in yourself. Always believe in yourself. Always be resilient, because that will allow you to continue to keep striving. Now, I don't think anybody should give up on themselves. I don't like once you fail at something and you're passionate about it, give it another try. Give it another 1,000 tries. You know? All it takes is that one time to change everything. All it takes is that one time. For me, all it takes is one. For me, make music. All it takes is one song to blow me up, change my life forever. And it's like, if I gave up on myself, I would never experience that. I would never reap the benefits of me working hard all these years, putting work into myself, building myself up. Because just because you putting in work, like very hard work, and it's not showing, doesn't mean that things are not happening behind the scenes. Like, a lot of people put so much time and effort into things, and then they give up because they feel like they putting too much into it. But realistically, you're building yourself up. You know, you have to fail and go through things sometimes for you to reap what you want to reap. And it's like the saying, you can't learn how to drive a parked car. You know, you have to drive it. You gotta crash it maybe a few times. You know, you gotta get out there and really be active with it in order for you to learn how to drive. You know, you can't be sitting behind a parked car trying to drive it. You're never gonna learn to drive like that. And it's the same thing with life. If you don't take the steps and you just giving up, and for me, you just saying, well, I tried, you know, but I didn't get nowhere. It's like it's almost the same thing. You're still stuck in the same position that you was when you started. So you might as well be stuck in that position and still trying to get out of it versus being in stagnant, being okay with it. For me, but you know, be intentional with your decisions. Be intentional with the time that you give to people. Be intentional with the time that you spend with yourself, because spending time with yourself is never bad. Like, a lot of people be saying they don't want to be in the house alone. They don't want to spend time with themselves. They rather be outside, be with friends. But it's like, You have to spend time with yourself. You have to. You have to learn yourself. You have to know what you like. You have to know what you could tolerate. You have to build patience. You have to build all these things, and it starts by spending time with yourself. You constantly around somebody, you don't even really know yourself like that. You know, you start becoming somebody else because you constantly around that person. You ever been around somebody for so long, you start picking up they laugh, like you start laughing like them. It's like you gotta spend time with yourself. Build habits that you like. Don't start picking up habits that somebody else around you is doing. You know, when you always around somebody, you start acting like somebody. That's why they say like. That's why certain like some parenthoods like the mom don't really want the kids around the dad because the dad don't have good habits. And if he's raising a child, the child gonna grow up to be exactly like him because you follow who you're around. If there's 9 millionaires and you hang around them, you're gonna be the 10th millionaire. There's 9 people that's not focused on their goals and they're doing things that's not good for them. You're gonna start doing stuff that's not good for you. And it's like that's a real thing. So it's like you have to spend time with yourself. You have to give yourself that grace to be able to learn your own things, learn your own hobbies, learn what you like personally, learn what works for you. And when you do that, life becomes so much better. You don't need to have friends. You don't need to have, people that's constantly around you 24/7. Like, it's cool. But it's like you gotta work on yourself. You gotta work on who you wanna be as a person. And that will help you the most. That will help you achieve what you want to achieve the most. So, hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Hope that it was helpful. I hope that, you can learn whatever you learn from it. And I hope that, you incorporate these things into your life because you deserve to have a better life. Especially if you're going through hardships, especially if you don't have the things that you want, you deserve to have a better life. So, that being said, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your night. For me, live life.